Welcome to NewFilmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. I'm Carolyn McDonald and I'm here with Paul James to talk about his film, Wet Freedom. Let's take a look at a clip.
What happens to us?
What do you mean?
If something happens and the road is closed right in front of us, where will we go? And what if somebody gets hurt or has to go to the hospital or something and needs a visit?
Yeah, we ain't going nowhere.
They don't give a shit about us, man.
Paul, welcome. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming in to talk to us about your film today.
Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here.
So tell us, what was the inspiration for this really beautiful and poignant film? I just really adored this film so much.
It's a tricky question. I didn't write the film, so the inspiration came to the writer, my writer Megan Best. She worked as a lawyer for juvenile incarceration, and she was a public school teacher in New York for a while. So I think the idea came to her by seeing how messed up the system is. Her and her very close friend growing up, Jessica Kelly, who I went to college and studied acting with at Syracuse, who is a very big casting director, she brought me on to the project. So the inspiration for me was just figuring out how to tell the story visually in an interesting way. Me and the cinematographer, Pascal Williams, we wanted to photograph Black boys in a way that we hadn't necessarily seen before. We didn't want to go handheld. We wanted to focus on the beauty of the experience, even if it is a tough experience to have. There's still beauty in every moment. And so that was sort of our jumping off point. The first conversation that we had was figuring out how to tell the story visually, maybe in a different way than you would initially think when you read the script.
Yes, I could totally see that. I mean, even not just visually, but just the emotional balance that was throughout the arcs of the lives of the boys and the depth there, just in the little, moments there with the reading and this young man knowing himself and wanting to, speak to getting himself out. And it was such a really beautiful journey. Can you talk about the acting process and directing the actors and working yourself with them?
Yeah, the acting, I mean, we made sure to cast it really strong. And I had this feeling if I cast it right, then I could focus on sort of the other elements that I don't get to usually focus on. So we cast Arthur McAlpin, who Jessica Kelly found. He just graduated from a program. He's a powerhouse. He's already booked his first Law and Order. He just guest starred on something else. And Jess cast Ashley Parkin and Emily in Paris. So Ashley had worked, when she went to Michigan, she volunteered, I believe, at prisons or juvenile detention centers. So the project was actually really close to her heart. And Bashir Salahuddin was like the angel on my list of like, we got to get this guy. He's the first guy that I wanted, and we got him. And he brought so much depth to a pretty one-dimensional role, but I really was excited to work with him. So I didn't have to do too much to get the performances. They're all great actors, a couple notes here and there. And I think because I've been an actor before, it's easy to talk to actors and give them ideas on how to spark a performance from themselves as opposed to like giving them something. My favorite directors give me a mood, give me things to think about, and then you find an organic performance in yourself as opposed to trying to mimic what somebody else's idea, if that makes sense.
I could totally see that, you within your work as a director, because I studied acting too, and I had an acting teacher that said the space between the notes is just as important as the notes themselves. And the moments of silence, here, that sequence of him, I don't want to spoiler alert, but that sequence of him when he go to swimming, I'll leave it at that. That whole sequence leading up to that, I thought was just so spot on, in terms of an emotional journey without dialogue. Said so much about his emotional journey at that moment. It was just so, so beautiful. So I saw what you're talking about, in working with actors that way, your actors.
Yeah, Artie is really committed to the craft. I mean, he told me that he knew how to swim, but we could tell that he didn't actually know from his response. But boy, did he try and learn, in the 2 weeks that he had, and he was really committed to the process. And Megan wrote such a delicate and gentle script that had a lot of space in it, which is the kind of work I'm drawn to. And Artie was the perfect actor to sort of embody that style of storytelling that we were trying to make.
Hmm. So talk about the physical production of the film. You said you're an actor also, but being behind the camera technically, working with your DP, as you said, talk about your production process and your team.
Well, I had a great team. Pascal is a powerhouse. She graduated from AFI. We've been family friends for a while, and I'd thought about directing for a while. So like 24 years ago, whatever, when I was in college, Jessica Kelly, the producer, casting director, was directing this play, Top Girls. And me and another friend who's also a casting director, also a co-producer of this film, Finley Davidson, we were co-directing. And Jess turns to me at one point and she says, "You should be a director." And 20 some years later, she brought me the project and she's like, "It's time." I always thought if I directed something, I wanted Pascal to DP it. I wanted my friend Great Dane to do the music for it. And my lifelong friend, Mikey Warren, who I grew up with, we worked together, we were in college together to do the visual effects. And I got all those people, which made it really special. Pascal and I came up with a visual language where the camera doesn't move the camera doesn't move because it acts as a prison itself because he's in detention, right? Which really was a challenge to Pascal to have these interesting shots, but you can't have the pan or the tilt that you usually can have to help convey emotion. So we had it all locked in for the most part until that no longer serves the story. So that was fun to give us some constraints and figure out how to make an interesting film that way. And the location was really important. We wanted the location to feel like an oppressive force, which I think the juvenile detention system is. And we were lucky to get that. I call it beautiful. I mean, it's not beautiful. It's a juvenile detention center, but we were able to use the lines and the bigness of the space to sort of dwarf Artie in the frame a lot of the time. I had a great sound designer, Troy, at Sugar Studios, and he helped me to create that buzz that happens a lot during the first half of the film, so that the juvenile detention center feels like a machine, right? That is also oppressing him, and that it's juxtaposed to later in the film when the sounds change and Artie hears the change in the sounds and what that does to him. Color was also really important. I'm also a visual artist, so I see things very colorfully. So I wanted there to be a color story that is told throughout the film. So the end of the film is juxtaposing with a warmer amber shade that juxtaposes with sort of the blues, the coolness of the beginning of the film.
One shot that was just so beautiful that you said you're a visual artist that reminded me of a painting was, I'm sorry, I'm spoiling it a little bit, but that'll only make you want to go see the movie. Those who haven't seen it yet, is the nighttime scene with the fence. When some were going forward and somewhere he was going in and they were coming out.
Right.
And I just thought there was just something so magical about that. It had a Shawshank Redemption kind of thing moment going on, but it also, I didn't think you cranked it down, but it was also almost like a slow motion, and it just had this, I don't know, otherworldly feel about it. That was the it just jumped out at me. That was such a beautiful, beautiful moment, visually and metaphorically. Can you talk about what that meant in the film?
Yeah, thank you so much. We worked hard on that shot, and I think it's just leaving. When I read the script, I visually saw the last moment like that, And I just wanted to end with the camera, which had previously been moving, now still, as he walks towards the next stage of his journey. And I think it was important to let that moment breathe, because when we were talking about it, it's so funny how one piece of dialogue or writing can mean so many different things to so many different people. And a lot of people, when we showed them the first cut of the film, had different reactions and emotions to the ending, which is what I think you want as a filmmaker. And I think letting it breathe like that, it lets you lean forward a little bit and bring what you bring towards the film. It lets you breathe with it. And also Great Dane's music. It's funny, you know, I had this idea to have like one of the, you know, Negro work songs sort of at the end, and I wanted Great Dane to sort of add some music to it. So he remixed it, because it's such a powerful emotions when you hear that. And it kind of takes you to another time and connects it ancestrally, sort of the struggle. And it also shows the difference in mentality of where Arthur's character is from where some of the other boys are. And it's why we're telling this film with Arthur at the center, because he has gone through a change, and now he's focused on his next goal.
Yes, I could see that. It's a really, really powerful film here. So tell us, where can we follow you? And thank you for coming in to talk to us about your film. So where can we follow you and learn more about this film's journey and anything else you maybe have down the pipeline coming up?
Thank you for having me. My Instagram's pauljames_6. I'm not as active as I should be, but I plan to be soon. This is sort of the end of our run for this film. But Megan, the writer, is working on some new things, and we're going to work on some stuff together in the future. And it's my first film I directed. It's Megan's first film that she wrote, so we're just sort of getting started. And yeah, it's been an honor.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much again. All the best with it. All the best.
Thank you.